You can have anything you want and still lose weight. There's not a single food on this planet that inherently stores fat, regardless of what you think about hormones, regardless of what you think about blood sugar. You can literally eat anything you want and still lose weight, assuming it's within your calorie deficit and all the other things are equated. Like if we want to say you're still strength training, your protein's equated, and you're in a calorie deficit. You could literally eat whatever you want every single day. If it's within your calorie deficit, you'll still lose weight. What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton, and I will be your host as usual. Now, today is another solo episode, but we are going to get into some serious tactical stuff. We are going to get into talking about how to tactically learn to have moderation around food and not spiral out of control. Because now let me say this. I know that doesn't sound very sexy. I know that's not as exciting, or that kind of sounds boring, is how to learn moderation around food. Here's the reason why I say that is because when it comes to having control over yourself, your food, not spiraling out of control, most people have zero moderation around food. But the truth is, like, we use that term a lot. Like I even in content use it all the time. Like, hey, you can have anything you want in moderation. But the problem is that still sounds a little arbitrary. Like, what does our moderation mean? What if I can't? What if I start on a pack of Oreos and I literally can't put it down? How do I fix that? Because one of my biggest pet peeves is people who are not as tactical when it comes to this stuff. Like one of my things I can't stand the most with coaches and people is when they use terms like, well, just be more mindful. The fuck does that even mean? Telling someone who's not mindful, who doesn't even understand any of this stuff, who's struggling to be mindful, like, does that mean stop when I'm full? Does that have to do with hunger cues? Is it an emotional thing? It means, do I need to meditate before I eat? Like, what's that even mean? And I think in a lot of cases, a lot of people don't understand what moderation means. Like when I say, yeah, you can have that in moderation, like some people need a literal answer as in, well, is that, you know, like 80-20, is that 90-10? Is that a calorie amount? It's just like, I don't know what that means, because if we have an area in our life we don't have control over, we need to be able to specify what these terms mean and things like that, but then have a tactical plan on all of this stuff. Because I know we talk about with the inner game and the dieting from the inside out stuff, that the things that stopping you from getting to where you want to be are not tangible. They're intangible. They almost sound philosophical. So this is one of those episodes that I always say is going to sound very philosophically tactical, because yes, like being more mindful and learning moderation, these sound more like philosophical things, but I'm going to break it down in the most tactical way where you're going to be able to run with this and change everything for you. So that's what we're going to get into, because this episode is for you if you can't control yourself around food, or you're trying to fix your relationship with food, but you can't stop binge eating, or you aren't sure about like what even some of these ways to go about this. Like, does moderation mean just on the weekends? Does moderation, like, is that a calorie number? We're going to define these things. That way you can have more of a tactical plan that's less anxiety filled, and then ultimately learn how to become bulletproof around food. That's what this is about, is I'm going to teach you how to become bulletproof around food, where you can enjoy your favorite foods, never struggle with them, never struggle with the negative emotions that you might be having, like guilt and anxiety, things like that. And ultimately how to have complete control and mastery over yourself, your relationship with your food, and all of this. That's really what we're getting into. So, but before we get into all of that, I do want to have a massive thank you to the sponsors of the show. Sponsor number one is Flex Pro Meals, along the lines of food. You know, like a lot of people say, they want to be able to go do this weight loss stuff without even thinking about it. And the most thoughtless way to do this is have your meals ready for you. This way you literally don't even have to think. And it's the only way to really make it completely thoughtless. Whereas if you have a fridge full of food ready to go, that you just throw in the microwave and eat it. And that's what Flex Pro does. And it just helps because most people live a life based off convenience. I know I do. And a lot of times we either forget to make food, forget groceries, or like whatever the case is, you know, on the go all day, traveling, kids in soccer practice, work running over, all these kind of things. Well, it is really nice to be able to have some meals on deck ready to go in your fridge at all times. That way, you know, they're in line for your goals. They taste great and you don't have to make them. So, and then it'd be cheaper than the drive-through. So definitely check out what Flex Pro has going on. And I like to save people money when I can. So if you go to flexpromeals.com or hit the link below, but if you use my code Hamilton Trained, it will save you 20% at checkout, which is pretty legit. Now, second sponsor of the show is First Form. I have on my First Form Christmas shirt, I believe. Yeah, that's what this one is. I have way too many Christmas shirts and I wear them all when it's not Christmas time. But anyway, when it comes to the world of supplements. They are not the end all be all. Supplements are exactly what they are. The term is coined is they are to supplement. They are not the end all be all. Your program should not be predicated solely on supplements, but if you are not getting what you need from food, supplements is the next go-to. If you're not getting enough protein in, you should probably consider a protein supplement. If you're not taking enough fish, getting your omegas, you should probably supplement with that. If you are not eating enough fruits and vegetables and getting enough micronutrients like your vitamins and minerals, you should probably be taking a multi or like a greens or something like that that's going to give you those. So at the end of the day, food is of course the best thing, but most people aren't going to get what they need with food because of convenience, laziness, budget, whatever it may be. So that's just really kind of where it's at. But I want to make sure that you're getting what you need from the right places. I don't want you just going to Amazon, buying what's cheapest and shitty, at least shitty tasting. That's going to not give you what you need. A lot of these supplement companies are, we'll just say not so honest or ethical, or in an actual facility. They're just put together in someone's basement, and it's kind of shady, to be honest. There's a lot of lawsuits with, the stuff that you see on the Walmart shelves right now, and it's pretty crazy. So I want to make sure you're getting the quality that you deserve where your money's going to the right places. So that's why we work with First Form. They are tried and true. Everything is tested and everything is in a good place. So this way, you are getting the right things for your money's worth. So definitely check out the link below. There's some free shipping stuff going on. But otherwise, that is it for the sponsors. Let's get into the actual nuts and bolts of today's episode. Now, I do have, if you're watching the YouTube video, and you should be, if you see my eyes moving, I'm trying to stay on point with this, and I don't want to go too tangenty. So if you see me looking around, I'm looking at my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. So here's the deal. We're talking about how to learn moderation and stop spiraling out of control with food, but the tactics. I want you to be able to walk away from this and go, that was so helpful. I want you to be able to go, okay, I have a plan now, because this is like the kind of stuff that we're teaching our clients, where it's getting very specific around, all right, here's the plan, what we want to do. Like when we work with a client who's struggling with their relationship with food and struggling with all this stuff, we're giving them, okay, here's what I want you to do this week. Here's how to stop the issues around the guilt. Here's how we stop the binge eating. And it is getting really specific and tangible. And that's what I'm going to try to do here. Now, I know this is obviously not one-to-one. This is one to thousands. So I'm going to try to give you just more generalized focus advice that you can hopefully run with it. And then again, if you do need more, whether it be accountability or support or exact tailored for you advice and help, that's when we can talk about applying for our higher level one-on-one program, but we're not getting into that right now. So let's talk about how to learn moderation with food from the tactical standpoint, so you quit spiraling out of control. So number one is, let's go first things first. When it comes to this, most people avoid certain foods like the plague because they think they're either bad, inherently unhealthy, or inherently bad, fast storing, all this stuff. But let's say, to make one thing perfectly clear, nothing is inherently bad. Nothing is inherently in and of itself bad. Here's the thing. It's funny. There's a quote I use, or a term I say a lot, is it's the dose that makes poison lethal. Let me say that again. It is the dose that makes poison lethal. You can take anything great and have too much of it, and it is now bad. And you can take anything bad and have small enough doses of it. It doesn't do any harm. Case in point, like right now, I actually have a post on my Instagram going off, and people are getting all butthurt. Let me actually pull it up real quick. So I have a post. Where did it go? Oh, here's the post. It was like a Threads or a tweet post. And I said, I basically said, the fact that it's almost 2024 and people still think certain foods are bad is mind-boggling to me. No food is bad. You can still eat literally whatever you want and lose weight if it's in moderation and not eating like an asshole. Take that sugar is bad shit back to the 1950s. And people are throwing a hissy fit in the comment section because they're like, no, sugar is the devil. Sugar is addictive. Sugar, all this stuff. Like, no. Stop. You can eat sugar in moderation, within context of moderation. We'll define that here in a minute, and lose weight, get healthy, and enjoy your life. As in, you can have sugar inside your calories, inside moderation, all this stuff, and your inflammation will go down. That's proven. That there are studies right now showing that it's going to make you lose weight, feel better, live longer, and and your health markers will improve with having sugar in your diet. Because here's the thing. Don't take this out of context. I am not saying anyone should go have nothing but sugar, highly processed, or quote, unhealthy foods It's just because they fit in your calories in mass quantities. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is we need to make this practical, because yes, would the ideal situation, if we have zero processing in our foods, have zero sugar in our diet, zero refined stuff, yeah, that would be the most optimal thing. Well, I can't talk. That would be the most optimal thing. But the problem is if optimal is not practical, it's no longer optimal. If optimal is not practical, it's no longer optimal. Because yeah, is the optimal world all of that stuff? Yes. But we live not optimal lives. We live very normal lives. It's easy on paper to say, yeah, I'm going to get rid of all processing. I'm going to get rid of all sugar. I'm going to get rid of all this. Yeah, but what happens when it's your kid's birthday? It's time to have birthday cake. What happens when you want to go on your weekly date night and go with your husband or your wife to whatever your favorite restaurant is and have ice cream or have like the pizza your favorite pizza that you want, whatever it is. There's no world where you have to be black and white and cut all these things out. It's not practical. And to be honest, it's not needed. To be honest, when people play this extremism card of, oh, I'm all this or all that, cut this out, cut this, whatever. It's usually when people have control issues of themselves. So they go to these mass extremes. It's when people cause here you have to realize each end of the extreme takes the least amount of effort and thought process in the moment. So for example, let's just take Oreos, for example. A lot of people say, oh, I can't have just one. I either have to cut them out or have the whole pack. Well, it's because each one of those takes the least amount of thought process and effort. It's easy in the moment to go, no, I can't ever have these ever again, and cut them out of your life. Well, that's not practical. Or it takes literally zero effort to go, I'm going to smash the whole pack. But it takes a lot of discipline and self-control and thought process to go, I'm going to have two and put the package back. But doing that with everything. But if you took this extremism mentality to every area in your life, you wouldn't last 24 hours. Like imagine pulling a carton of eggs out of your fridge and one of them's cracked and saying, oh, I'm an all or nothing person, and throw the whole thing away. Or if you got a flat on your way home from work, you're not going to pop the other 3 tires. Or if you crack your phone screen, you're not going to go, well, I have to finish it off now and destroy the rest of it. We don't operate by these thoughts and these mentalities anywhere else, but when we struggle with food. That's the big thing. When people whip out these extremism cards, it's when we're trying to validate bad decisions or our own weaknesses or struggles. Oh, I can't have just 2 Oreos and put the package back. So I'm going to cut them out of my life totally, which is going to lead to a binge. Or I'm going to say I'm an all or nothing person and smash the whole thing. This is when we have to view this control issue, this relationship with food issue, as a major problem, and we need to fix it. And that's the top priority. This is why when we coach people in our coaching program, stage 1, we call it dieting from the inside out for this reason, because you have to earn the right to lose weight. If you can't control yourself around Oreos, that's the priority number 1, not getting you to lose weight. Because yeah, we could cut out all your favorite foods for the next 12 weeks and you lose a bunch of weight really rigid, but it's not going to help you then when you can't take that anymore and then break, then spiral out of control and gain your weight back. But this is what most people do. So what we're going to talk about in this episode is what you can do to fix that. But I just wanted to get this part abundantly clear, that you can have anything you want and still lose weight. There's not a single food on this planet that inherently stores fat, regardless of what you think about hormones, regardless of what you think about blood sugar, regardless of what you think about all this stuff. I'm telling you, look at the day. And this is not just Jared's opinion. This is science. You can literally eat anything you want and still lose weight, assuming it's within your calorie deficit. And all the other things are equated. Like if we want to say you're still strength training, your protein's equated, and you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. You could literally eat whatever you want every single day. If it's within your calorie deficit, you'll still lose weight. Again, don't be that internet asshole that takes this out of context and is saying, oh, so you're saying I can just have Pop-Tarts and gummy bears in a calorie deficit and still lose weight. Well, you actually could. But that's not practical. That's not sustainable. You feel like shit. You'd be hungry as fuck. And then it's not sustainable either. I'm talking to those of you who are listening to this who want to be able to feel good, to look good, to move good, to enjoy your life without all the friction and stress around food and all these negative emotions around because you wanted to have ice cream with your kid. Now you're flooded with guilt. I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to the internet asshole that's going to take this out of context because you can go somewhere else. So, but like I said, I'm telling you that you can have anything you want and still lose weight. It's why, actually, fun fact, it's why, like for a lot of you listening who don't believe that, you all have that friend who can eat whatever they want and still stay lean. We all know, and you probably have some resentment towards them. We all have that friend who you say, oh, they can eat whatever they want, and it just doesn't seem to matter. They always lose the weight stays off. Yeah, it's because they're in a hell of a calorie deficit because their metabolism is so high. that the numbers worked out. Their body burns 3,000 calories a day. They take in 2,500 of whatever foods, and it's no one, and then they lose the weight just fine. That's why. So it's proof of that. So, but what does cause you to gain weight? At the end of the day, overeating. You eating more calories than what your body's burning. That's the only thing that's causing you to gain weight. This is why we will see people following every type of diet and gaining weight. This is what actually what's funny is this is why every diet has its like antagonist. You have like you have like vegan, then you have its opposite, which is like carnivore. You have like keto, which is zero carbs. And you have like if it fits your macros, where they're eating like Pop-Tarts and gummy bears all day, right? You have like fasters, people that do intermittent fasting, but then you have like the eat every 2 hour crowd. So every diet has its own, antagonist and its own opposite, but ironically, they all have results because it tells you like energy balance, like calories in, calories out. But then they all also have people who follow the rules and don't lose any weight. For example, let's say I'll pick on keto. There are a lot of people who follow a keto diet and don't lose any weight because they eat like 4,000 calories a day in keto food. Or there's people who eat perfectly clean and organic. They won't touch anything that doesn't have an organic label on it. They won't touch it if it's processed. But they eat way too much food. They just eat in surplus. They eat 3,000 calories a day. Well, it doesn't matter that's organic and healthy food when you're eating too much of it. Right? So what I'm teaching you to do is what you should be doing is eating the majority of your nutrition, your calories from better quality, whole, nutritious, real foods. We're not putting ethics with it. We're not saying healthy, unhealthy. I'm saying is the majority of what you eat should be better quality, more nutritious, real foods. That's the majority of what you should be eating. But just because that's the majority of what you should be eating doesn't mean that you can't have things that are outside of that. That's like the more processed or sugar or having sugar, things like that. We just have to have it in context. My favorite analogy is you probably do this really well with your money. You probably spend the majority of your money on responsible purchases. Your house, your lights, your car, paying off debt, saving some, though your kids, Christmas gifts, you probably spend the majority of your money on that stuff. But then because you have a surplus or enough left over, you probably spend money on stupid shit you don't need. Another purse, going out to eat, Starbucks every other during the week, the newest iPhone, a new iPhone case because you want it to match your outfit, another $30 water bottle, right? Whatever it is. But it's fine because you spend the majority of your money on responsible purchases and you have enough extra, you spend a small percentage of your income on bullshit. We all do that. It's no different with food. You're going to spend the majority of your calories, your intake on better quality, more nutritious, whole, real foods because we're adults. But just because that's where the majority is going doesn't mean because you have extra, you have enough, you can spend a little bit of that on stupid bullshit you don't need. Like if you want to have ice cream, if you want to have cake, if you want to have cookies, if you want to go get pizza. The other night, Monday night, Shelby and I had a random surprise date. We haven't talked or connected, and just because we've been busy, so like random surprise date. It's because I know how this game works, so I can bend the rules to my favor, so I can go and have dinner with my wife, get ice cream, or go out to eat, and it not affect my goals. And it because our lives revolve around food, like most of yours do. So this is how we fix it. So let's talk about like what moderation is. Cause hopefully by now you're getting it. That's like, okay, I can have anything I want in moderation and still lose weight and get to where I want to be. Okay. So moderation, here's what you have to understand. When people say, what is moderation? Actually, what's funny is what got me thinking about this concept, because I was going to record a solo episode today, but I wasn't quite sure what to do it on. And I made a post about this on my Instagram story because of this Instagram post going off. And my good friend Aram Grigorian, I just did a podcast with him a few episodes ago. He said, I totally agree with you. Actually, let me pull up and what his message to me said, because he had a good point. So because I made a post about how stupid like people on the internet are, because they're like, oh my gosh, sugar's bad. It's as addictive as drugs and da-da-da-da-da. And he said, I agree wholeheartedly, but who understands how to moderate hyper-palatable foods? And I go, you know what? That's a good point. That's a very good point. And that's what we're talking about today is like tactics on how to moderate this. You can have anything you want, but if you've gone through life struggling with how to moderate yourself and how to control yourself around these foods and you have no bearing, and it's either like I restrict it all or I binge it all, One thing I need to do a better job of, like we do this with our clients, but I don't talk about it enough with you guys, the community that is following here, on like some tactics on how to do this. So I'm going to give you some of the ones that we give clients and stuff. So, because you have to understand, moderation is context driven. There's no one size fits all answer for moderation. There's a few ideas, but you have to understand moderation is context driven. Right? People get all upset when they see like a really rich person buy a Lamborghini that's $500,000. And everyone's like, oh, how could you possibly spend that kind of money? Or you see someone with like a $30,000 watch and people go, holy fuck, that's as much as like my part-time job. How could you spend that on a watch? I go, well, it's because it's context driven. That millionaire, like Bill Gates, dude's a billionaire. Of course, he could go fucking buy a super yacht every day because he makes so much more than what that watch is. So it's all context driven. People freak out that like, oh my gosh, that cupcake is 300 calories. I'm like, yeah, but your calorie intake is like 2,500 a day. If you made, let me put it in terms of money. If you made, let's say, $2,500 a day every single day, ongoing, if you made $2,500 a day, that is, hang on, because I can't do math in my head to save my life. If you made $2,500 a day times 30 days, that's 75 grand a month. Okay. If you made $2,500 a day, are you worried about a $300 TV? Every single day you make 2,500 bucks. Are you worried about a $300 TV? Probably not. Because like I said, it's every day you make 2,500. Of course, you're not going to worry about a $300 TV, right? Because context. It's the same thing with nutrition. People freak the fuck out about the calories in a piece of pizza or in an ice cream cone or whatever, but it's like, take a step back. It's context driven. Now, if you're eating the majority of your calories from Pop-Tarts and gummy bears, that's a different story because that's a little out of context. So this is when we talk about like either like 80-20 or the 90-10 rule. Like, let's just say 80-20, 80% of your nutrition should come from better quality, whole, nutritious, real foods. But that 20%, whatever the fuck you want. The thing that the numbers have to line up though. If your goal is to lose weight and you're consistently overeating, you're not going to lose weight. But let's say you're just to make numbers easy, let's say you're eating 2,000 calories a day and you eat the majority of that. Here, let me just, what's 80% of 2,000? Let's see, 80, because I know I'm going to mess this up if I just do it in my head. 80% of 2,000, 1,600. So if you're eating 2,000 calories a day and 1,600 of it is really good food that makes you feel good, that's high, that your body agrees with, that's more healthy and nutritious. Those 400 calories, have the fucking cupcakes. It doesn't matter. I'm giving you permission. Okay. Like that's like 80-20, a great example of it. Okay. A common thing with our clients is we'll tell them every single day, have 300 to 500 calories of whatever the fuck you want. Just make it work in your numbers. If you want that ice cream cone, cool. Make it work in your numbers. But think about having like the idea of like eat whatever you want, 300 to 500 calories a day of whatever you want. This is where a lot of people go wrong. They go, no, I have to be strict during the weeks, and then they lose it on the weekends. I bet a lot of you listening to this have done this or might do this still. On Monday, you're like, okay, diet restarts. I'm being good on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, you're like, fuck, cookies sound really good. I'd like to have cookies. No, I'm being good. Whatever that fucking means, you say, no, I'm being good. And then now that craving's getting stronger. Instead of having the 2 fucking cookies, you said, no, I'm being good. Thursday, you're like, no, I made it all the way to Thursday. I haven't had my cookies. Fuck, I really want cookies though. No, I'm being good. I don't need them. I hate it when people say that. I don't need them. You don't need 2 kidneys either. You only need 1. You don't even need taste buds or eyesight, but those are pretty dope to have. You don't need makeup or TV, but it's nice to have those, right? So stop saying I don't need them. But then Friday, you're like, oh my gosh, I could do anything for cookies. Saturday, you're ready to steal them from children. And then you eventually go, okay, I'm going to try to have it. Fuck it. I'm an all or nothing person, and you have the whole sleeve or the whole pack of Oreos. Then you feel guilty about it all week. And then Monday rolls around. You go, okay, I'm being really good. I'm not going to do that again. Lather, rinse, repeat. You let that craving build up. But what would have happened? This is what would have happened if on Monday or Tuesday, you're like, fuck, cookies sound really good. You would have had 2 Oreos, 3 Oreos, which is like 150 calories, if that, 175 calories. And your craving would have been satisfied. Boom. And then you would have gone away. a lot of people think this is where a lot of people write about now say, well, Jared, no, once I start, I can't stop. That's because that's the pattern you've taught yourself. And I'm going to show you how to undo that. But when you say, oh, once I start, I can't stop. Once I have a little, I have to have a lot. That is, number one, a story you've sold yourself on. It's actually not true at all. Once you start, you can't stop. That is a story. That's an identity. That's like internal prophecy you have sold yourself on. So from a neuro pathway standpoint in your brain, of course you're going to do that because that's the old familiar. That's what you've always done. But we have to retrain that part of your brain. So it's like if you're thirsty, you drink water, your thirst is quenched. You're not like, oh, I got to binge water and you just fucking drown yourself. No, you're thirsty. You have a craving for water. You're thirsty. You drink the water, your thirst is quenched. You're good. Well, why can't we do that with food then? We can, but because of your history, that's where we get into trouble. Because of what you've done your whole life and how much you've struggled with it, it just keeps repeating that same cycle. But we're going to fix that. So we need to establish though, first, what moderation means for you. For some people, that's just giving it a boundary for you. Because if you have an issue with your relationship with food, it's no different than an issue with a relationship with a person. If you have an ill relationship with a person that has some baggage, you need to put up boundaries, how you communicate, when you communicate, things like that. Boundaries with people are dope. Well, if you have a relationship with food issue, you need to just put certain boundaries in place. But if I have an issue with someone, and I need to put up boundaries around in certain areas, I can't, but I want to fix it. I can't shut them off and expect for those issues to get fixed. Part of fixing a relationship with a person is communication, is healing, is all these different parts. It's no different with food, but if you have this horrible relationship with food and you can't control yourself around Oreos, binging on Oreos and then restricting Oreos is just going to keep the issue. You have to heal that relationship with the food. So we need to establish the boundaries. So boundaries as in what moderation looks like. For some of you, it may be say 80-20 done. For some of you, it may be I'm going to literally have every single day a Klondike bar, or every day I'm going to have whatever. For some of you, that's I'm going to stop waiting till the weekend to satisfy my cravings, but give it a number, give it a quantifiable thing of this is the plan. I'm going to teach you what I call the gas station method, which is what we have our clients do that works wonders. For some of you, that's a calorie number. That could be saying, all right, every day I'm going to find 300 to 500 calories in my numbers to have whatever I want. I'm going to have, even if you start with 100 calories, I'm going to have a 100 calorie Rice Krispie treat every day just to work on this. Because the problem is because your brain gravitates to what's familiar. It's why the thought of doing this work is probably terrifying for some of you. So what happens is, if that's what you've always done, anything other than that, your brain is scared of. The thought of eating these foods every day, is terrifying. But this is why we have to do it, is because we need to give your brain a new familiar, a new reality. It's almost like if you're scared of heights and you avoid something tall, the fear of heights is always going to be there. The only way, the reason getting over the fear of heights and facing it fixes it is because you face the fear and you don't die, and your brain goes, oh, it has a new reality. It goes, I thought we'd die. I guess we're wrong. Cool. And then your fear of heights is gone. It's no different here. This is how we're able to fix fear around foods so quickly with our clients, because if you avoid food forever, and these issues are going to stay there, but then we'll have them eat their favorite food every day in moderation. They lose weight from that because they're in a calorie deficit. Then all of a sudden the brain goes, oh, I guess this wasn't so bad after all. And this is how we're able to end years of binge eating in months, if not weeks. So you have to set boundaries around these foods to make sure that you're following the plan. Okay. Now you may be saying, Jared, once I start, I can't stop. Here's what we need to do. Because here's what most coaches and most amateurs do when you struggle with the food stuff. 9 times out of 10, they go, well, clear the trigger foods out of the house. Number one, calling the food a trigger food is not helping this food relationship problem that you have. It would be like me calling my wife a bitch every day. Hey, bitch, what's up? Hey, bitch, how was your day? And then expecting us to have a great relationship. It's not going to work because we have meanings with names. So if you say these chips, cookies, and brownies are my trigger foods, you're literally reinforcing the fucked up behavior. It'd be like me trying to fix the relationship with my wife and saying, hey, bitch, how are you? Hey, bitch, how was your day? It's going to cause problems because when we name things and label things, we have meanings and feelings around them. So food is just food. Food is neutral. Okay. But what most people do is they continue to label the foods these terrible names, like cheat food, trigger food, whatever. Stop doing that. But then they say, get all the foods out of the house. Well, that's great. But then that's most people's end game. They eliminate all the temptations out of your house. Cool. I'm a fan of that as step one. But we have to reintegrate these foods back into your diet on your watch. This is the part most people miss. Most coaches or fit spos or fit pros say, oh, just get the trigger foods out of the house and then you're good. What happens when you go to the barbecue? What happens when your kids want chips? What happens when you go on date night? This is where it becomes problematic because you got rid of the problem. You slid it under the rug. You never actually fixed it or healed through it. So this is where you need to put the control completely back in your seat, in your pocket. So what we teach clients is what we call the gas station method. So what the gas station method looks like is step one, you clear all the foods that you're struggling with out of the house. Because this way, if it's going to be hard to heal through this, if you still have these little relapses and you wake up and pizza crusts are all over the floor, or you just raided the pantry again. Because we have to give your brain a new exposure to the control that you're lacking. Okay. That's the problem. It's because your brain doesn't have any. Your brain assumes if it's in the past, it's tried and true. And if every time you've tried to do this before, you always end up binge eating, it's no wonder your brain believes once I start, I can't stop. We have to give your brain a new reality and new evidence that you do have control. So here's how we fix this. You're going to clear the house of all the stuff, the chips, the cookies, the cakes, all that temporarily. Then what you're going to do is every single day, I'm not talking about just when you crave it. None of this. I'm telling you, this is intervention shit. Every day, you're going to go to the gas station and buy a single size serving of whatever the food that you're struggling with is. You're not buying the family size bag of chips. You're buying the 2-pack of cookies. You're buying the single serving donut. You're buying the vending machine size bag of chips that's 170 calories. You're buying the 300 calorie candy bar. The beautiful thing is about the day and age in which we live is you can buy single size servings of literally anything. I saw the store the other day, like the pints of Ben & Jerry's that are 1,200 calories. They had these little 200 calorie little mini tubs of them that are like 2 bites worth. You can do this with any food that you struggle with. Single serving pizza, slices of pizza, whatever it is. You're going to buy the thing. Don't eat it yet. Bring it home. Then eat it. Because you know what's going to happen upstairs in your brain neurologically? Your brain's going to go, oh shit, here she goes. She's going to binge on it. She's eating the pizza because your brain doesn't know you bought just one. It thinks you have the whole fucking pizza or the whole family size bag of chips. And you're eating the food that was triggering, that may be triggering for you right now. And you eat it. And your brain's like, oh shit, here we go. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing to binge on. If you literally got the vending machine size bag of chips, it's this big, it's teeny tiny. And you eat that in your house, your brain's like, wait, we always binge. Why isn't she binge eating? You can't binge on what's not there. Now, this is why I'm not having you go buy the family size bag of chips, because then you'll smash the whole thing. I'm making it quite literally impossible to binge on what's not there. You're buying the single size candy bar, you're bringing it home, eat the single size candy bar. Your brain's like, how are we having this control? Your brain doesn't know that it doesn't have the whole box there, but your brain is going, we ate 1 candy bar and didn't binge on 5. We ate 1 little amount of chips and not the whole thing. We ate 2 cookies and not a whole sleeve of cookies. But you're going to do this every single fucking day for the next month. What's going to happen is your brain's going to go, we had chocolate every day and didn't binge once. Or we had chips every single day and didn't binge once. We had pizza every single day and I didn't fall off the rocker once. So your brain is going to be exposed to this new level of control that you didn't realize you had. But then number 2, you're going to lose weight. Because all this is within a calorie deficit. Not binge eating is a hell of a calorie deficit. And what's going to happen, you're going to do all that and you're going to lose weight by eating the foods that you struggled with. And then all of a sudden your brain's going to go, oh, I get it. It's like the fear of heights thing. Once you jump out of the plane and land, your brain goes, oh, I guess we're not scared anymore. Oh, I get it. That's literally what happens like all the time when we do this with clients. But this is what structure around these things look like, is if you know right now you can't control yourself around these foods, we need to get you to have control. So then once you do that and you're like, okay, cool, I'm getting the gas station thing. This is when we may start to incorporate, okay, let's buy a box of the vending machines chips. Now you just get 1. You're not allowed to have 2, just 1. You may go get a box of chocolate bars. You can only have 1. And what we're doing is we're building on this. Because like any other relationship, like with a person, as it heals, you can start to take boundaries down. You can start to remove some and manipulate it. It's the same thing with food. But we have to formulate a boundary and what moderation means. The problem is a lot of you guys that are struggling don't have a line in the sand. You go, oh, I'm going to be more mindful. What the fuck does that mean? Versus you say, I'm going to have 1 mini bag of chips. I'm going to have one candy bar. I'm going to have 2 Oreos. This way you have a line in the sand. Now, I have in my notes to talk about this other piece. Now, for those of you, here's another example of some boundaries. Some of you listening to this may be going, oh, I have a husband and kids. I can't just get rid of all that stuff. Cool. Well, now what we do for our clients in that situation, those are your husband and kids snacks. Those aren't your snacks. That's your husband and kids is chips. Those aren't your chips. Those are their candy bars, not your candy bars. Well, don't eat their food. Now you have to go out and get yours. Right? Because again, if you're struggling with like, I can't start and I can't, because if you can just go, oh, Jared, you're saying I just eat one and call it a day and don't eat the rest, bet. Do that. I'm talking to you if you're like, no, if I have the big bag of, if I have the big bag of candy from Halloween, I literally can't just have 2 pieces. I literally just get in there and eat the whole thing. Now I'm talking to you. If that's you, and you're like, I can't just, if it's in the house, I have to eat it. This is where, number one, if your husband and kids won't support you while you're healing your relationship with food and you're like, no, I have to have that stuff in the house for them, then your new rule is that is their candy. That's their snacks. That's their pantry. You don't eat their crackers. Don't eat their cookies. Take a fucking Sharpie. Kids, husband, whatever. If mom, or dad, whoever you are, if you want to have those, go to the gas station and get the single size serving, come home and eat it. Because the problem is most people who have these issues around food and can't control themselves, we're finding ways to validate all the bad decisions. Oh, well, I can't do that because I have husband and kids. You ever ask them for support? Be like, hey, I'm working on fixing this. Are you guys cool if I like clear the pantry of everything for like the next month and then I'll put it all back? Right? But most people aren't willing to have that conversation, or we're finding ways to not even try. We're like, oh, well, I have a husband in this. Well, I can't do that. Well, like, yeah, you can. Okay, that's theirs. Now you go to the gas station, things like that. We have to put boundaries around these things to help work through this and heal through this. Or if you're really struggling, because here's the thing, the other piece of this, I'm going to sound like an asshole, but I don't mean it like that. I mean this with love. Most people give up their personal power just because they struggle. A lot of people say, Jared, once I start, I can't stop. I go, is it really that? Or are you just giving in because it's hard? What I mean by that is, what if an ultimatum happened? What if someone says, hey, what if for some reason a really weird serial killer came into your house and lived there and said, hey, if you have more than 2 Oreos, I'm going to kill your entire family. All of a sudden you'd find this new level of self-control that you've never had before, right? Or if, let's say I decided to run a contest, let's say I'm talking to you, if you're listening to this and you're like, once I start, I can't stop. I go, well, if you do, I'm going to give you $100,000. Well, all of a sudden you would probably find this new level of self-control you've never had before. Well, it's always been there, but does it really take me bribing you to make that come out? Or does it really take like the survival of your family for that to come out? Most people struggle with something and they adopt this identity of helplessness, or they adopt this identity of a lost cause, or, oh, I've got an addictive personality. And so I've got to eat that. No, that's true. Oh, sugar is the same as drugs. It's just as addictive. No, if that were the case, you would binge eat on honey, to be honest, not ice cream, like per science and stuff. You'd be doing lines of table sugar, not just because you struggle with muffins. You see? So you have to understand this is part of the game of how we have to fix this. So these are some tactics that I wanted to give you on how you can tangibly go, okay, how do I not spiral out of control around these foods? Because like I said in the beginning, the more you avoid these foods, the more you restrict these foods, the more you're going to binge on them, the more you're going to keep this fucked up relationship with these foods. And here's the hard part. Your kids are watching. Every move you make with the food stuff, your kids are watching and they're emulating. This is how generational bullshit gets passed down. Not only are they watching, but then every time you do this back and forth, you like gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, start, do well, fall off, start well, fall off. You're fucking up your metabolism, number one, but then mentally you're making it harder to lose the weight the next time, because every day, every decision you make and everything you do and every result you get is momentum, either negatively or positively. So every time you gain the weight back, or every day you start well and fuck it all up, all these different things, then you're ingraining that behavior psychologically into your subconscious, which is dangerous. This is why most people will take their struggles to their grave unless they get third-party help, right? That's what we're talking about. So this is how we fix this. Sorry, my left contact is being weird if you see me squinting at my notes. Here's the other part I think we need to talk about. It's supposed to be uncomfortable because you're going against old conditioning. when you are fixing your relationship with food and putting these boundaries in place around these things, it's supposed to suck. It's not going to be it's not going to be unbearable. For some people, it might be, but it's not supposed to be comfortable. You're literally going against years or decades of old conditioning. So it's almost like putting on someone else's clothes. It's like if you were a dog petting you the wrong way. It's just going to feel awkward because it goes against what you've been used to. Your brain is only about self-preservation, not happiness. Your brain would rather keep you in struggle and suffering because at least it feels like home and it's familiar. So at least it's predictable. Versus the thought of having freedom around food is like, its stove is hot. We don't touch that. But this is the only way to fix this. Okay. And here's the thing. If you can't do that, if I told you all this and you're just like, holy shit, there's no way I can do that. There's no way I can do that on my own. I know I will spiral. I know I will mess that up. Or if you don't want to go on this journey by yourself with this is literally one of the first things that we do with people, with our clients inside one-on-one coaching. We literally walk through all of this with our clients, hold them accountable, keep them calm, keep everything okay during all of this. Like the podcast is called Dieting from the Inside Out. Well, the very first stage of coaching is called Dieting from the Inside Out, because this is kind of shit. This stuff right here is one of the very first things that we work with people and fix right out the gate when we coach them. Because if you can't fix this, you'll never lose weight, let alone keep it off. Ever. You'll lose 10 pounds and gain 20 back. This is why you're not where you want to be. Because if we're not addressing this deep inner game shit, this is why every house has a foundation. It's because without a foundation, the house crumbles. This is the kind of stuff that's your foundation: your relationship with food, your relationship with yourself, your habits, your triggers, your identity, your mentalities. These are all the control you have around food. This is all the foundation of who you are. So if your foundation is fucked, your results are going to be fucked, to put it bluntly. This is why most people need to quit white knuckling through weight loss, because they suck at this stuff and they go, oh, I suck at this. I'm just going to try to work harder, eat less, move more. Does fat loss come down to eat less, move more? Yeah, that's the children's coloring book of fat loss. But this kind of shit, your relationship with food, binge eating, emotional eating, not being able to control yourself, your identity, these things are stopping you from eating less, moving more. We have to fix these things first. And if you don't want to go on this journey by yourself, you don't want to have to think about it back and forth and make all these decisions for yourself, or you want to be held accountable, or you need to be held accountable, or you need a higher level of support, this is what one-on-one coaching is about. And this is the very first thing that we do inside coaching. So we make weight loss way easier. So if that's something that you want, I'll leave a link below where we can talk about the possibility of coaching. There's a link below where you can apply for coaching, get on our calendar. That way we can even see if this is the right fit, to see if you're ready for this and to see if you're a good fit for how we do our thing. But that's what I would offer you. If you don't want to go, if I said all this and you're like, oh, that's so simple, and run with it. Literally go crush it. But if you're like, I don't think I can do that on my own, I don't think I have the self-control to even do that, I don't think I can do that without being an anxious mess, then I would 100% say apply for coaching so we can end this bullshit and end the struggle that you have right now. But otherwise, that's literally it. These are the habits and tactics that you can implement right now to learn moderation, to not spiral out of control with food, and to never struggle with this stuff ever again. That's how to do it. You have to define what moderation is for you and develop a plan and the boundaries around food that will give you a whole bunch of options. And that's how to do it. And then you put time with it and consistency with it. And then over time, you're rewriting the neural pathways in your brain. And at that point, it's game over. So that's how we do it with clients. That's why it works so well. And that's exactly how to do it. So I literally just gave you the blueprint, gave you the secret. But the problem is, I'll be just totally real, there's only going to be like one or two of you motherfuckers that are actually going to do it. Because this is hard. You're literally going against your subconscious and old conditioning. The vast majority of you are not going to do it. You're going to go, yeah, that sounds good, and go back to your bullshit because it's easier. Again, that's how sabotage works. This is why most people, and as you're listening to this, it could be you. This is why most people will take their struggles to their grave and never get on the other side of this. It's because you've spent most of your life struggling. So your subconscious has years on you. It's why it always seems to win, is because fighting the quote unquote old self, fighting sabotage, fighting the old conditioning, the uncomfortable stuff, is similar to fighting your evil clone that only comes out when you're sleeping, because 90% of your day is subconscious. But imagine fighting your evil clone who knows everything about you, knows your tics, knows your weaknesses, knows where everything is at, but they only come out to fight you when you're asleep. It makes it almost damn near impossible to win, But that's why most people will diet for decades. They'll struggle for years. And I hate to see it. This is literally why we coach. It's why I built this entire company and I put out all this content, is because I want to stop all of it. Because that's the crazy thing, is we can stop all of this in just a matter of months. The last podcast episode we did, it was a lady named Lynn. Lynn struggled for 60 years and we fixed it in 4 months. Fuck, if that's not fast progress, I don't know what is. But this is how to do it. So if you want to do it on your own, go, have at it. But if you don't think you can, or if you're worried about it, like if the thought of adding this stuff back, the eating this way, like scares you or makes you concerned, fuck, then I would apply for coaching. That way we can end this right now. But otherwise, I'm always here if you need anything. I'm always an Instagram DM away or an email away. All that contact info is below. Before I let you go, be sure to number one, subscribe to the show. That way you know whenever a new episode's coming out, because I'm pumping out the best content, getting the best guests, and I'm keeping this thing rolling. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Be sure to subscribe. Wow, words are hard. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube, because we have all interviews there now as well. Go check out the podcast website, dietingfromtheinsideout.com. We have the whole blog there. Like I said, if you do want to apply for coaching and see if this is a good fit to end all this struggle forever, there's a link below. And if you are not in my Fat Loss Simplified Facebook group, where I have an amazing community of people that are working through this stuff as well, you'll want to join that. That way you have a home base where you're not alone. And then I'll also throw below the link for my free course. I do have a course called the Fat Loss Checklist it's a little more surface level. This is deep stuff, but the Fat Loss Checklist is a little more surface level on how to start getting rolling with this weight loss stuff. But otherwise, that's really it. So otherwise, I appreciate the fuck out of you. Thank you so much for being here. I will talk to you next time. See ya.